Hello to all of my students. My name is Moon and this is Queensboro Community College. You are seeing this video because you are in one of my classes this semester. The purpose of this video is to explain the features of our class administrations that is common across all of my classes. I've been teaching at Queensboro for a while now, and it's finally occurred to me that I've been running my classes more or less the same way every time. So to reduce duplicated effort and also to reduce lecture time for you, I decided to create this video. You need to pay attention to every item in this video carefully because this will all be covered on our first quiz, which will come to you around next week or the end of next week. All the following will apply to you no matter what class or section you are in with me. The differences will be covered separately in our in-person class time or for my completely online classes, and anyone who missed the in-person lecture, I will also spell it out in a post to Brightspace. So let's get started. On Brightspace, you're going to find the syllabus. It's usually one of the first things up top. So log into Brightspace, click on the course that we're in together, and then look around for something that says syllabus and a downloadable PDF file. And for each individual class, I will show you where it is, but it's pretty much the same. But I don't want to show a Brightspace page right now because it might confuse a student watching when they see a class name and section name that's different from their own. So I'm just going to keep that for another video. Anyway, when you finally bring up the syllabus, you're going to see this first page here. Can you see my mouse? There it is. There's my mouse. Okay, so here we are, and the title, of course, will be different depending on what class you are with me. So is the section. Now the section is going to be very, very important. Then I'll explain soon why. How many credit hours there is, where it is, unless it's an online class, and I'll say it's online, when it is, and if it's an asynchronous class, then this doesn't matter. Although you really should pace yourself, everybody else, there's going to be a schedule of when we actually meet and when material becomes available, which will be at the bottom of this syllabus and the end of this lecture. So please keep paying attention all the way to the end. On this side of the table, well, this is common across all. This is me. I am an MD. I have a medical degree from Ross University, but I don't practice medicine here in New York. Instead, I only teach, and I like it that way. I really love teaching, and this is pretty much all I ever really wanted to do. So I am very happy here as a teacher at Queensboro Community College, teaching you folks. This is my email address, and it's the best way to reach me, and I really, really mean the best. Nothing else comes even close. There is a telephone number. I do have an office number of my own, but I'm rarely there. I have an office of my own, but I'm rarely there. I usually only show up like for a few minutes before class, and then maybe I'll stop by after class. So if you try to call me or knock on the door, you're probably not going to get me. The best way to reach me is by email. Here. In fact, if you did find my office number somehow and called it, all you'll get is an answering machine telling you the best way to reach me is by email. So that's really it. Now, what is this number? It's the department main office. The G216 is the main office there. And you're always welcome to stop by, but if you want to leave a message for me at the office, it's going to be a delay because I probably won't get it until the next time I'm on campus. The best way, the fastest way to reach me is by email. I check this email several times a day because that's my job, right? You would expect me to be available to the students, and this is how. So what if you want to talk to me in person, like face to face, for something very sensitive and private? Well, of course I'm willing to meet with you in the office. We just have to schedule it, to arrange it in advance. And I'm happy to meet with you any day of the week, including weekends, including holidays, if that's what you need. Of course, I can't meet you when the campus is completely shut down, because then I don't have access to the campus. But otherwise, any other day and any time. But let's try to be reasonable here, right? If you really want to talk to me at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be difficult to get access to the campus, right? But if it's on Zoom, if Zoom online is okay with you, then I can meet with you any day, anytime. I'm here for you. This is my job. So if you really need to discuss something with me, very important, but in private, then I can have a Zoom meeting with you. But we need to set up this appointment in advance, at least 24 hours in advance. That way I can double check that I don't have a prior commitment somewhere else, so that we can find a day and time that both of us are free. And then I will set up a Zoom call, and then we'll have a chat. If you really want to meet with me in person, then of course, again, I can meet you on campus, my office, or the library, or any other public place, as long as they're open. But again, we need to arrange this at least 24 hours in advance to make sure that there are no time conflicts, schedule conflicts on either side. Okay, so the course description depends on the course that you signed up for. I teach several different kinds of courses. And anyway, I just said this, the best way to reach me is by email. When you email me, please in the subject line, state what class you're in and what section you're in. For example, this is only for an example. If you are in my HE 123 class, no such class, but if you're in my section HE 123 and you say, hi, I'm in your HE 123, I need to talk to you, or I have a question about my grade that I got on the last quiz, and I will think, when I read that email, I will think, who are you? I won't say that out loud, but I'd be thinking that. And I will look at the email address, and the email says bigtoughguy117@yahoo.com, and I'm like, I have no idea who this person is. So I will reply within 24 hours and turnaround time, and I'll say, who are you? And they say, I'm sorry, I'm John Smith in your HE123 class. Again, I'm going to think, which John Smith? Because I have like 2 different John Smiths in my multiple HE123 sections. See what I'm getting at? So if you say, hi, I'm John Smith, I'm in your HE123 class, section G4. Okay, there's only one John Smith in that section. I can zero in where you are. And if you say, well, why are you making me work so hard? Why didn't you just search for my name in all of your classes until you finally find me? Again, there are multiple times when there are duplicates, and I don't want to give you I don't want to talk to you about somebody else's academic record. And then finally, I'm teaching a lot of sections. I'm teaching an overloaded schedule this semester because of the needs of the college. And so, and you're not the only one asking me questions about their standing in the class or something about the class. So for me to hunt down the name for every student every time, it really does slow everything down. After all, I'm trying to find your records quickly so that I can get a reply to you quickly. So please, when you email me, state the section name, section number. Is it FNT? Is it PNT3? Is it J4? Tell me what section you are in. And in the first lecture of the first lecture of your class, because I'm going to do it for all my classes, I'm going to repeatedly say it loud and clear what the section actually is. So if there was ever a time to take careful notes, that's going to be it. All right. So I am happy to meet with you in real life or on Zoom, as long as we schedule it at least 24 hours in advance. I've said the word Brightspace several times before. Those of you who have already had a semester here, you know what Brightspace is. For those of you who are brand new to Queensboro or brand new to CUNY, CUNY, City University of New York, Brightspace is what we call a learning management system. Fancy speak, it's the software that you log into to get to interact with all of your academic needs. So in fact, I don't know how you could be watching this video if you don't have access to your Brightspace account. I'm just saying for the record that if you do have problems with the Brightspace access or your email access in general, then you really need to get that cleared up, because it's going to be almost impossible to do well in this class without continuous regular access to the Brightspace for this page. I should have said something about the email. Also, please check your Queensboro Community College email account at least once per day. What is that all about? The only way that Queensboro Community College and CUNY in general, City University of New York in general, will communicate with you is through your email account. Not your private email account, not your social media influencer account on YouTube. They'll only interact with you through this email account that they assign to you at Queensboro. If you don't regularly check that, then something very, very important may be trying to reach you and you have no idea. How important? How about like your tuition being overdue, or a hold placed on your records because of one reason or another, or somebody wants to like give you an award. There's no way to know in advance. Please check your QCC email account at least once a day, and occasionally I send out a broadcast announcement about the class we're having together. That's so important that I need to email everybody as well as post on the Brightspace. So check your email, preferably several times a day, but at least once a day, just to make sure you're part of that 24-hour turnaround cycle, so you don't miss something very important. Okay, so the textbook. Each class that I'm teaching, there is a official textbook, but you know what? I'm not part of the textbook industrial complex. I'm not going to make you buy a brand new textbook for hundreds and hundreds of dollars that you may not even read. I'm not saying you, specifically you, but people in general tend not to read the entire textbook. Professors sometimes don't even use their entire textbook, making their students pay all this money, and it doesn't seem like they're getting that much out of it from my limited, compared to senior professors, my limited experience in this system. So what I've done is instead, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to do well in this class, in the lectures and the videos like this one. So you don't really have to have the textbook. Well, then why should you get a textbook if it's not required? Why would you, now that I've said it? Well, for a few reasons. One of them is that if my explanation is not coming across to you and you're still confused about what it is I'm trying to tell you, well, would you like to hear from a different point of view? Would you like to hear the same concept explained in a different way? Then the textbook is the go-to. My lectures are based on these textbooks, so why not hear it from the original source too? Sometimes some of my students have been not English as a first language, and so it's not so much my ability to explain, but their ability to understand English as I speak it. So they would prefer to have a source of information that's a little more comfortably paced at their own reading speed, so the textbook is Great. Also, many students are in that specific kind, not specific, a special kind of financial aid where they get the textbooks paid for anyway. Well, if you can get the textbook for free, why not? Don't cost you nothing, so why not get the textbook? So those are, right off the bat, I can think of 3 reasons why you would get a textbook even though it's not required. For the rest of the people out there, if you're tight on cash and you can think of other things you would rather buy or need to buy, then you don't need the textbook. Don't worry. Now, and also, I will include the edition number of the textbook, which is not always the latest edition. I tend not to recommend the latest edition because those will be the highest price. I will recommend like an earlier edition, and by then the used versions are now out there on the secondary market and you can get it for cheaper. They will be heavily marked in, heavily used, but at least you'll get a discount that way. But then if you want to buy the newest version or some very old version or edition, then be aware that the chapter numbers may change. So you'd have to search for it through the topic we're supposed to be talking about. You may have to go hunt for it in the table of contents or the index in the back. Grading policy. It used to be slightly different, the percentages for different classes, but then I finally decided this system seems to be working. I made this change especially here a couple of years ago, and I've been rolling it out to all of my sections, and so far this seems to be a winning strategy. So what happens is the first midterm exam is only 10%, which is 1/10 of your grade. And so this gives students a chance to get used to my style, the way I ask questions, the way they study, especially if they're new to community college. So it allows them, by having a lower weight, it allows them to make early mistakes. And then by the second midterm exam, they figured it out. They figured out the way I think, they figured out the way I test. So that's normal exam weight. And then the final exam is like your last chance to bail yourself out. If you did so poorly on the first exam that you dug yourself into a bit of a hole, maybe you're late on homeworks and quizzes, and then finally the final exam is your chance to dig yourself out of that hole, to climb yourself out. So that final exam is weighted the heaviest. Equal to one final exam are the 2 assignments and quizzes. Every week there will be a homework assignment and a quiz. So 30 divided by 2 is 15. So each one homework, one quiz. Well, all the homeworks, all the quizzes come up to about the weight of a final exam. And this is another low stress way to get 30% of your grade. See what I'm doing there? Low stress, low stakes way, easier pace. Instead of one massive exam, you can pace yourself out. But that's only if you keep up. There have been a few students who procrastinate and lag, and these numbers just start dropping because they submit things so late that they lost a lot of points in late penalties, unforced errors. And finally, there's class participation. So let's do that. If you're in my asynchronous class, then the class participation is completely on the discussion forums. What discussion forums? I'll show you in another video. But that's it, 10% completely on discussion forums, where you interact online with your classmates. For those of you who are in a class that has in-person meetings, then it's discussion forums and attendance. Now, I do not deduct points for absences. But if you do show up, I'll give you extra credit for showing up. So what is this homework and quizzes you speak of? Okay, every week we have a lecture. It's in the schedule down at the bottom of this document. Every week we have a lecture, and except holidays, of course. And on the Saturday after that scheduled lecture, I will post the homework assignment and the quiz for that lecture, and it'll be due the following Friday every week. And it'll all be due 11 p.m. of the following Friday. Okay, let me jump down to the schedule at the bottom here to tell you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so obviously, depending on your class, the topics we will talk about will be different, and where they are in the book will be different if you get the book. But anyway, today this date is coming up, and the first lecture is posted this week. So this Saturday, I will post the homework and quiz, and it'll be due the following Friday. And then at the end of this week, the Saturday after this day, there will be a homework and a quiz the following Friday, the week that lecture 3 is given. See how it's going here? And then finally, and then we'll work our way down to 14 lectures this semester. Now, wait a minute, there's more than 14 weeks this semester. Yeah, I know. So what happens is there is, on this date, there's the first midterm exam, and this is a Saturday. This is a Saturday date. So the exam 1 will be posted on Saturday, made available to everyone, and they will have all week to do it, and it'll be due by the following Friday, 11 p.m. That sounds familiar, right? So everything is due 11 p.m. Everything in this course, in all my courses, is due 11 p.m. It'll be on lectures 1 through 5. So you will have plenty of time, because see that it's due by the week I'm giving lecture 6. See, that's the same day as I'm giving lecture 6. So it is due the following week. So you have a week to study after the end of lecture 5. Same with exam 2. You have a week to study after the end of lecture 10. And then finally, a couple of days before the final grades are due this semester, you'll have a final exam on everything from Hi, my name is Moon, all the way to Goodbye, have a nice life, everything in between. That's the schedule. All right, let's go back to homework. Right. So that's how it works. Okay, how do you submit homeworks? There's a separate video on how to submit homework assignments to Brightspace. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, only homeworks, you are allowed to resubmit the homework assignment. Let's say you submit a homework assignment early, like a good student, and then after thinking about it, you realize you answered one of the questions wrong or multiple questions wrong. And you're wondering, oh no, I'm going to lose those points. Well, don't stress about it. Redo it and submit it again. You may submit homework assignments an unlimited number of times. And I will keep regrading it and then I'll only keep the highest score. Not the same for quizzes. Okay, you can't do the same thing for quizzes, but homework assignments you can. Now, what happens if you resubmit a homework assignment after it is due? Well, then there's late penalties, and I'll talk about that too. But how about this? How about you submit a homework assignment and you lose many points because you misunderstood the instructions? And I explained how, in my feedback, I will explain why you lost the point here, why you lost the point there, etc. And so, is that it? Are you done? Is that it for that assignment? Your grade is your grade? No, you can resubmit it after the due date. But what that means, though, is that depending on how well you respond to my feedback, you will get some of those points back. But then the late penalty still applies. So let's give you an example. Let's say you submit a homework assignment that's worth 10 points, but then you lose 30% because of a misunderstanding. So you only get 7 out of 10. And I usually grade these like after the due date. I wait for everybody to hand them in on Brightspace. So, but don't let it sit at 7 out of 10. If you think you can do better, resubmit it. Make the corrections, resubmit it. So let's say you do it perfectly, and now the assignment is worth 10 out of 10 because you fixed those 3 missing points. But since it is 1 week late, you lose 1 point, 10% out of 10, because it's late. So now you get a 9 out of 10, right? You get 3 points back, but you lost a point because it's late. So now you get a 9 out of 10, which is better than 7 out of 10. It's just that you're resubmitting it a week late. See how that works? Okay. Same for tests. Now, this word test, I mean quizzes and exams. Like a quiz is a kind of test, and an exam is a kind of test. So I mean for all tests. They're timed to be about 3 minutes per question. So a 10-question quiz is about 30 minutes. A 50-question exam is about 150 minutes, which comes out to, let's say 3 hours. 150 divided by 60, right? 60 minutes per hour. So that's 2.5 hours. But you really want to schedule like 3 solid hours of quality time, uninterrupted, solid internet access, peace and quiet, a snack and a drink, just no humans or artificial intelligence there to help you answer the questions. And so yeah, you should schedule 3 hours of quality time to take a major exam with me, or 30 minutes, half an hour of quality time to take a quiz. And when can you do this? Any day of the week. I post these on a Saturday. I make them available on a Saturday, and they're due the following Friday. So you have 6 days, 6 days to get these done. Just pick a day that works for you, your work schedule, your home schedule, your class schedule, and so get it done whenever you need to. Late penalty. So all work may be submitted late. All work may be submitted late. But for every week you submit it late, there's an extra 10% penalty. Homeworks and quizzes are out of 10 points each, so you lose a point for every week late, including the first missed deadline. So let's say the first quiz is going to be due next Friday, and you don't do it. You submit it the following day, Saturday. So it's an automatic 10% off. And then another week goes by and you still don't submit it. So you finally submit it like 2 weeks late. So you lost 10% because you didn't make the deadline, and then you lose another 10% because you submitted it a week after the other Saturday. So that's 20%. Well, what if you still don't submit it until week 6, 6 weeks later? Semester is almost half over and you're finally submitting the first quiz. Does that mean it's down to 40%? It's a 60% late penalty, you're down to 40. What if you never do it until the last week of the semester? It's been more than 10 weeks late. Is it worth now 0 points because it's 100% late penalty? Well, then it's not worth it to do it anymore, right? I wouldn't do it if it's not worth it, but I want you to do it. These quizzes and homeworks and exams are not only a way to test you, but a way for you to learn, to reinforce main topics from the lecture. I want you to still do it. I don't want to give you an unfair advantage over students who bust their butt to get everything done on time, but at the same time, I don't want you to completely lose hope and not bother doing the work. So what I do, and I think I'm still the only instructor in the world who does this, I should patent this, is I have a max late penalty. If you're more than 5 weeks late, then the penalty on submitting it holds steady at 50%. If you're 8 weeks late, you'll still only get 50% penalty on that assignment, quiz, or exam. It's still worth doing to get the other. So, example, let's say you do a quiz that's 8 weeks late. To be by all, I mean, originally you would have only gotten 20 out of it, 20% worth out of it. So let's say you take the quiz, you get a 7 out of 10, but it's 8 weeks late. It's worth like -1 out of 10, right? So you decide, it's not worth doing it. But no, it is worth doing it by having the maximum 50% penalty. So you submit it, you get a 7 out of 10, and I say 5 points off because it's late. It's more than 5 weeks late, so 5 points off. So 7 minus 5 is 2 out of 10. And you may say that's 2 out of 10 is pretty bad. I mean, it's again not really worth doing anymore. For that quiz, maybe it seems like too little. But what if you were in this situation for a lot of the assignments, a lot of the quizzes? Then a few points here, a few points there, they eventually do add up, and then they can actually help you in the long run by the end of the semester by giving you incentive to do all overdue work anyway. You can still scrape enough residual points left by doing these late assignments to positively affect your final score. So that's how this works. There's one kind of lateness that I will not accept, or I will not waive, and that is for internet or computer issues. People email me, students email me several times for year after year saying, please accept this late, my computer crashed, or my dog ate my charger. And I say, and of course they're going to say this at 10:30 p.m. of the day it's due. They wouldn't say this on a Thursday, because then they'd have all day Friday to find an alternate computer or another way to upload the assignments, right? They would only email this at at even 11:30, 30 minutes after it's due. They will email saying, I'm sorry it's late. My house had a power outage, or my computer crashed. But that's the thing. It means that you waited until Friday evening to do this. If you had waited until Friday afternoon to do this, you could have had time to scramble to Staples or the computer lab or your friend's house and uploaded your assignment or taken the quiz at their place. But since you waited until late, like last minute, it means it's not really a technical issue on your part. It's actually a procrastination issue. It's actually a time management issue. I should not have said procrastinating. Maybe something's going on in your life with family, with medical issues. Something's going on where you could not work on this all week. But that's kind of rare, and there's a way to handle that. Otherwise, other than those serious, sudden, rare emergencies, you probably had several days throughout the week to do this, and you didn't manage your time appropriately. So no, I will not accept computer, internet, technical issues to waive this late penalty. Waive means W-A-I-V. Waive means not count the late penalty. But there are times where I will not give you a late penalty. For example, you can say you would disappear without a trace for like a month. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, you email me and saying, I'm sorry, but I was in jury duty and I was sequestered. Or I'm in the National Guard and they made me go somewhere for 2 months with no internet access. Or I was sick. I was in the hospital for a month. Well, all I need from you is a letter from a person of authority saying, please excuse this person. They were under my care. They were under my command. They were responding to their civic duty from this date to this date. It has to state the dates. It has to show the dates. Then I will take that span of days and not count that towards the late penalty. If your homework assignment is 6 weeks late, but you have a letter from a person of authority showing that you were unavailable for 4 weeks, then instead of a 6-week penalty, I will give you a 2-week penalty. See how this works? So all you have to do is show me a letter from a person of authority now this letter should be the standard official letter, which means that it needs to have letterhead, official letterhead on top. It needs to have the person's signature. And if you're not going to show it to me in person, then you have to scan it and email it to me so I can have something so I can show the administration why I seem to be giving this student favoritism. I don't want to be accused of favoritism. Somebody may accuse me of favoritism, saying, why did you take penalties on all these other students but not for this student? Is there some kind of shady backroom deal, bribery going on? Say, no, here, there's a letter from this student, from this person of authority, explaining why they're not available. And here in the syllabus, I'll show them the syllabus saying, according to this, it's acceptable to waive the penalty. And so that helps me. If I'm ever audited, it gets me out of trouble. So that's why I need this letter. But it can't just be like a letter scrawled in on the back of a receipt in crayon saying you weren't there. It has to be official looking letter. That's why. And it has to show the days. If they just say, if you send me like a discharge, no, if you send me a letter from a doctor saying my patient was sick, that's it. Then it doesn't show me how many days they were not available. So what? I'll take a day off, which is like nothing. And in this system works according to weeks. So I can't use that. You have to give me a letter that shows the span of days. The day you became unavailable to work and the day you were able to work again. I definitely have to make a quiz question out of this because every once in a while a student still submits a letter that still doesn't have all of that. So I'll do that. Okay. So these are all the ways you can lose points. Is there a way you can boost up your points because you're not doing as well as you hope to do? Sure, there is. There's lots and lots of extra credit assignments. There is a folder in Brightspace called All Extra Credits. It should look empty to you right now, but as the semester goes on, the different ones will become visible. And in the past, I've seen that students who did every assignment all perfectly were able to improve their final score by a 1-letter grade. They went from like a B- to an A- or a C+ to a B+. But you'd have to do all of them perfectly. Just saying. Okay. Academic integrity. Don't lie, steal, or cheat. If you use somebody else's work, you have to give reference, you have to give them credit. That's always been true. You cannot copy somebody else's work and then put your name on it and say, I wrote this, because that's called lying, otherwise known as plagiarism. And it's the same for artificial intelligence. If you use artificial intelligence to answer questions and then claim I wrote this, you're lying. That's plagiarism. If you use artificial intelligence, then you have to show where you got it from, which AI you used, so that you can give credit to the other thing that did the work that you did not do. So that's called referencing. That's called footnoting. You have to show it. You're allowed to use artificial intelligence to answer homework assignment questions. You cannot use artificial intelligence to answer test questions. I don't have a way to stop you, technology nowadays, right now, does not have a reliable way to detect that. But this is called the honor code. It's called being honest. Hopefully, we don't have to train you to be honest at the college level. And so it's society's job really to teach you, to train you to be honest. You promised when you became a student of Queensborough Community College that you will not lie, steal, or cheat. So we will expect that from you. General rules of conduct in overall. There are other more subtle things about beyond lying, stealing, and cheating is covered under the student codes of conduct, policy and procedures, and in general it's called the community standards. Community standards of Queensborough and CUNY. So we expect you to abide by them. You agreed to abide by them when you became a student. Accommodations for disabilities. If you are entitled to an accommodation under the Disabilities Act, American Disabilities Act, don't tell me about it. Tell these folks, the Office of for some reason I'm drawing a blank. I work with these folks all the time. The Office of Accessibility Services. Oh yeah, here we go. The Office of Accessibility Services. Go there and tell them about it. Show them your supporting documentation, your doctor's note, whatever they need. They are the experts. They know what's needed. They know how to do an investigation. And then when they determine that yes, you are entitled to a certain accommodation, then they will give you a card, a letter, and they will also send me an email saying, please give this student this accommodation in your class. And I will say, okay, I will obey, and you get it. Most common accommodation I've given students is extra time on quizzes and exams. Because once in a while a student requires like closed captioning, but all of my lectures go on YouTube anyway, and we use the YouTube closed captioning system, and nobody has complained yet. Everybody seems to be okay with the YouTube closed captioning system. Diversity is not only a source of strength for this country, despite what some may say, but diversity is also a source of strength for this class. This class is about health. All my classes are about health at Queensborough, and your different backgrounds, your different points of view, your different experiences in the healthcare system is absolutely, definitely relevant to every topic we talk about in all of my classes here. I want to hear about what you experience. I want to hear your opinions, and I want you to share them with your classmates as long as you are comfortable doing so. All of you makes this class better. Finally, I took a class, I took many classes in how to be a better teacher, and a couple of them said, why didn't you do something like this? There are various social support services given by Queensborough and CUNY, and they address various needs and challenges that might otherwise, if left unmet, will interfere with the students' ability to get good grades or to succeed academically. By putting all of this, as many that I can think of, in one place, then it helps to remind a student that a particular service that would help them is out there. So that's what I did. And you can read these and try these different links according on your own time when you download this. Okay. And then finally, here we are. We're back here to the schedule that I already pointed to. All right. Well, thank you for your patience. This information is very dry and not that interesting, but very important, because this is how we do well in this class. And also, if that doesn't convince you, remember, this information is tested on the first quiz that's due next week. So study hard, be prepared, and good luck. Welcome to my class, whichever class you're in. I'll see you again on the video for the first lecture, which the link should be there by the time you see this.